Hi, everybody. John Connell here. You're very welcome to our talk, Nurturing Your Mental Health During COVID. I'm delighted that you've joined us this morning. It's been frosty weather, a little bit reflective of the bad weather that's been with us, a little bit reflective of the journey that we've all been on in the last while, in short, managing the rough with the smooth. I thought I might begin today's talk about minding your mental health with a short little piece of writing, and it's something that has shaped me and something that I've gained an insight into in during the pandemic period. The land I live upon and know is part of the Midlands. Here in the centre of Ireland, we are like the navel of this ancient place. Below my feet lies layers upon layers of limestone. It's said to be made up of the remains of ancient life. Limestone is known for its permeability, namely that water flows through it, creating strange shapes as it does. Sometimes, when I am standing upon this land of ours, I think of the meeting point that this place is, that the water pouring through stone has not just shaped the rock, but us. That in this midland, this middle place, this middle kingdom, we are meeting both life and death, heaven and hell, nature and destruction, that the permeation has made us the people we are, that it has permeated our souls. I tread softly over the stones, they are my makers. I wrote that piece during the first lockdown when I was thinking about the inner world. And I suppose the sense of place has brought me a great peace in this time because it is place that makes us and place that holds us during this time. And I think in place we can come to understand our world. As Patrick Kavanagh said, the local is the universal. And really, the place that we are in this moment is what's going to help us get through it. So I'm here to talk to you about minding your mental health during COVID. And that's, I suppose, no easy task. And there's no clear one-size-fits-all remedy for all people. But I do have some tips and tricks that I think will allow you to get through the period. So firstly, we all know that COVID is a virus that has come from Asia and changed our world forever. It's brought with it sweeping changes around the world, and every country has become an outpost, and in a way every house has, including your own, too. So looking back now, I can see that we all went through a collective experience in the first lockdown. There was a social anxiety, a feeling of stress, and of course the obsessive checking of symptoms in the fear that we had contracted the virus. So this collective anxiety was scary for some, and I'll be honest, as someone who's went through their own mental health difficulties, it didn't faze me as much as I thought it would. And the reason that it didn't faze me is because I had built the well of positivity. So, what is the well of positivity, you're going to ask me? Well, I suppose in a sense, it's keeping beauty in your mind, but the well of positivity is the tool that will allow us to get through this time. Now, there's different facets to the well of positivity, but really it is about seeing the ordinary bounty in the everyday, accessing the strengths that we all have within us, and building the reserve of strength to allow us to get through this period. So for me, I went through some mental health difficulties and I had to build my well. And to begin with, I didn't have the tools and I had no roadmap. So I didn't have the ability to properly deal with those things. But in building the well, I can now deal with them properly. And I hope that in today's talk that you will gain some insight and be able to use those tools to allow you to get through it. In a sense, you also need to know that even in the darkest hours, such as the pandemic, that you're never truly alone because you have your family, your community, and your friends. And they're all around you and around the world. And I think that there's a power in this country in particular. We're an island of connections, and every stranger is just a conversation away from being a new friend. So, how do we build a well? And then we also need to know that we're not alone. So managing your life. Managing your life, or what I call controlling the controllables, is the one real power you have in this pandemic. We can't change the pandemic. We can't change other people's actions. We can't change the news or the death rate. However, we can change our actions and work towards making ourselves happy. So managing our lives. Our outer world has changed, but our inner world is still the same. We cannot control how we feel, but we can control how we react. And I think it's in this that we can find a guiding light through the pandemic. So the main areas of management are stress and anxiety, work, access to news and stats, healthy routines, staying connected to others, and sleep. So I'm going to go through these different sections briefly for our shorter talk, and we'll talk about them at the end as well. So stress and anxiety. So we all know that stress is a killer. And in the middle of a pandemic, stress can breed anxiety, and that's something that none of us want. Stress is a part of life. It's a natural instinct that allows us to get out of danger. But in the modern world, where there can be many external stressors, we have to learn to develop coping mechanisms and coping measures with stress. For me, I relieve stress with exercise. There have been days where I even felt the pressure of the pandemic, and the road outside was my fail-safe device in order to create balance and equilibrium, and a proper equilibrium for me to deal with the stress. So anxiety is the bedfellow of stress. And I'll be honest, it's something I have experienced too during this pandemic. And anxiety is something that many of us are experiencing in some cases for the first time. Anxiety can be a physical and mental experience, and in its worst form can bring forward panic attacks. So for anxiety, we need to develop our self-soothing tools. But doing this, we have to, by doing this, we're calming ourselves and letting ourselves know that even the biggest cause of anxiety, when examined properly, isn't so scary. The monster is never that big. Take the pandemic. It is not going to be forever. There is a vaccine. There are several vaccines. It is a temporary moment in time that will end. Rather than saying it is taken me down and it's ruining my life, it hasn't stopped life. It's just changed life. So work. I'm not going to go too much into depth on work because that's a whole other talk, but I'll briefly say that the pandemic has brought about new working modes for all of us. For some, they're now working from home, while others are not able to work at all because of new measures. I suppose we've all grown up wanting to be productive, wanting to have a job that gives us purpose. And for many of us, our jobs are a huge part of our identity. We proudly say, I'm a builder, I'm a farmer, I work in accounting. And we take pride in that. But when our jobs are cut off for us, we can feel a bit helpless. For those working from home, we have to find a way to treat the workday and workspace as a work area. We can do this by not working in the living room, finding dedicated space that's office space. And I know that can be tricky, but separating our work life and our personal life in the home is a good thing. So for those who are on the PUP, wondering when they might return to work, it's also really important to keep a routine and to know that the pandemic is temporary, that you will be able to return to work. We do know that after certain lockdowns, people went back to work, so things will return to normal. And I suppose as well, if you are on the PUP and you're at a loose end, not watching hours of television or getting into a bad routine. You want to keep yourself active, keep yourself busy. That prevents loneliness. It also prevents isolation. So access to news and stats. Now, I think we can all admit that we've been taking in a lot of news. Morning Ireland has reported its highest ever ratings last year. For 20 years. People are mad to consume news. But what we have to do is, it's very important to know what's going on, but we also have to limit our intake of the news. We don't need to catch every bulletin all through the day. We can simply catch the news in the morning or the evening, or catch it once a day even. And the reason I suggest that is not to be not informed, but rather to manage our stress. Because of course the news is invariably bad. It's going to make us feel negative. Also looking out for positive news stories. Positive news stories are really good things that will help you feel good about life and have hope in your heart. So set limits and be smart with what you take in. So healthy routines is our next area of controlling the controllables. Now, healthy routines is really what's going to get us through this time. We've all been given a lifeline in this new lockdown. We've been given the 5K exercise radius, the 5K radius from our house. It may be down to 2K, but it's 5K at the moment. So we have to use it. Walk, run, cycle, make time in your day to engage with that radius, to get out of the house, to feel that you are being productive for yourself, not for business or work. Healthy routines will make and break us in this time. For me, going for a run, as I said, is my way to unwind and deal with the day. Dr. George Sheehan, a cardiologist and runner, used to say that today was the big event. Today is the moment that you've been waiting for, and also that today is your masterpiece. And I think it's in this that we have to approach each day as our own masterpiece. The walk for an hour, the jog, whatever it is that brings you out in the fresh air and into nature is going to make all the difference. So we also need to understand about eating good food, limiting alcohol intake, and smoking. Eating good food is quite obvious. It's going to make us feel good. We're not going to be putting on extra weight and then feeling negative about that. Limiting alcohol, everyone has their own relationship with alcohol, but limiting it, that it doesn't become every day I'm going to have a drink during the pandemic is a good thing. And of course, we all know the dangers of smoking, so managing that is a really important thing. So making today your masterpiece is essentially what the healthy routines are all about. So staying connected to others. We are in a lockdown and we are in a pandemic, but so is everyone else. It's a shared experience, so use that to your advantage. By now, nearly everyone in the country has a mobile phone, and of course, for so many of you tuning in, you have internet access. So for me, I have a group of friends I call each week to find out what is happening in their part of the country and their part of the world. I call it the check-in. I find out what is happening in their lives and what they're doing with themselves. I call it the check-in. You realise 3 things when you're talking to your friends. 1, life is going on regardless of the pandemic. People are falling in love, building houses, starting new jobs. 2, the world didn't stop, so why should you? And 3, your friends will reconnect you with the good things in your own life and also allow you to connect with the good things in their life. So for me, having a wide group of friends to call upon allows me to not overburden one friend, and it allows me to have different opinion and news come into my life. So staying connected with good friends and family really makes a huge difference to our mental health in this time. Even social media, which we can hear so many negative things about, is great as we can talk to friends on the other side of the world. Just don't get sucked into fake news traps or comparing yourself to other people. That's the danger of social media. The positives of social media is that it allows us to talk to friends and family for free on the other side of the world. So staying connected with others allows us to feel support and give support and feel like we have a network around us if anything should go wrong. Now, the next area that is an important one is sleep. Sleep is a very precious thing in these times of stress. And I think that sleep is something that we can take for granted. We assume we're going to have a good sleep. But sleep is as important as our physical exercise too. It's a way to balance out the days. And good sleep hygiene, as it's called, is really important because it sets us up for the next day. Keeping our sleep routine, even if we find ourselves not working, is really important. And what does that mean? That means going to bed on time, getting up on time. Staying in bed might be tempting if you're not working at the moment, but unless you're really tired or run down, it's not your friend. We need to keep our days and nights structured. And really, the sleep hygiene is so important, particularly as well for managing the stress and anxiety that we might be experiencing. A good night's sleep really does make a difference. And sometimes it might be a case of going to bed a little bit earlier to get comfortable, or reading a good book, or listening to a podcast, finding your way to relax, to come down from the day, and again, separating the sleep space from the living space so that we have a better relationship with the bedroom. Then, building your well. So, building your well by doing all these things will get you to the other side of the pandemic. You have to know that everything will come to an end. A brighter day will come where we can all be together again. The pandemic is an opportunity for change, and really you only have one job in this time, and that's to take care of yourself and come through this in one piece. That's it. Building your well of positivity will allow you to get through this. John O'Donoghue used to talk about the importance of keeping beauty in your mind. Now is the time to stock up on the beauty, from a chat with a dear friend to a walk in the countryside or in your local town. Fill your well with good things and use it to take on the bad things. You see, when we all go through something like this pandemic, there's a transformation of the self and of the soul that is going to take place. You're going to build up your well of positivity. When you go through the dark night of the soul, there's nobody who can take that away from you. Nobody knows what's in front of them. If you did, sure, what would be the point? And there wouldn't be much reason for going on. So here in the middle kingdom of Ireland, in this middle place, we must all thread softly. We are the souls pouring through the rocks of life. So fill your well of positivity. That's the message. And I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation. I suppose in summation, I would note as well that filling your well is a summation of all those parts. Those are the areas that are going to help you build those tools and the reserves of strength for you through this time. I hope that you have enjoyed the talk, and thank you for watching and taking part.